My fiancée slept with my cousin before our engagement, so I vanished from her life and watched everything she planned collapse without me. I'm a 29-year-old guy, and for a long time, I thought I had life figured out. I had the kind of relationship people envied, the kind where friends joked we were couple goals. My fiancée, Emily, wasn't just my partner. She was my best friend, my sounding board, and the person I imagined growing old with. We'd been together for 5 years, and I was counting down the days until I could call her my wife. Everything, and I mean everything, in my life revolved around her. I trusted her completely. We shared everything: bank accounts, passwords, family holidays, and dreams for the future. I'd bring her to every family event, and my parents adored her. My cousin Jason especially seemed to click with her. They laughed easily, shared similar jokes, and even texted sometimes about surprise gifts for me. I used to think it was sweet that they got along so well. It made me feel like my worlds were blending perfectly, family and love coming together. There were nights when I'd look at her across the dinner table, hair tied up, laughing at one of my dumb jokes, and think, how did I get so lucky? She'd reach across, touch my hand, and say, you make me feel safe. I believed her. That line, you make me feel safe, it stuck with me. I held onto it like proof that what we had was real, unshakable. But sometimes, there were moments that didn't quite sit right. Little things, like how Emily and Jason would exchange glances during family dinners, inside jokes that didn't include me, or texts she brushed off as just Jason being Jason. I told myself not to be paranoid. After all, Jason was family, and Emily was the woman I trusted more than anyone on earth. Looking back, I should have paid attention to those small moments. The truth was already there, hiding behind laughter and trust, waiting for the right moment to tear everything apart. I'd spent months planning the perfect proposal, something Emily would remember for the rest of her life. I wanted it to feel cinematic, like the moment our love story became official. Jason was the first person I told about my plan. He seemed genuinely excited, offering to help pick the ring, suggesting venues, even helping me practice how I'd pop the question. I thought it was the most brotherly thing anyone could do. Looking back, that trust feels like a knife I handed him myself. The night finally came. I rented out a small restaurant where Emily and I had our first date. The lights were low, candles flickered on every table, and the scent of her favorite flowers, lilacs, filled the room. When she walked in, she looked like everything I'd ever wanted. My heart was racing so fast I could barely breathe. I got down on one knee and asked her to marry me. She burst into tears, saying yes through a trembling smile. Jason was there too, clapping, cheering, hugging us both like a proud best man. I remember the flash of a camera, the sparkle of the ring, the sound of everyone clapping. It felt perfect, too perfect. In that moment, surrounded by people I loved, I felt unstoppable. I'd worked hard, built a stable career, and found someone who made me feel like home. Emily was my peace, my person, or so I thought. But even as we left the restaurant, arm in arm, I caught a small glance between her and Jason. It was quick, maybe a second, but it lingered in my mind all night. Something about the way they looked at each other wasn't normal. I brushed it off, convincing myself I was just overthinking. Because how could I suspect anything bad on the happiest night of my life? The weeks after our engagement felt like a dream at first. Venue shopping, cake tasting, endless congratulations messages. But somewhere in that blur of excitement, something began to shift. Emily started acting different. She'd always been warm and affectionate, the kind of person who'd rest her head on my shoulder during movie nights. Now, she was distant, distracted. Her phone was glued to her hand more than usual, and when I'd ask what she was smiling at, she'd say, just wedding stuff, babe. Jason had grown quieter too. We used to talk all the time, about work, about family, about life. But now, he avoided me. He skipped dinners, ignored my calls, and when we did see each other, his eyes darted around like he couldn't look at me straight. My mom even mentioned she'd seen Emily and Jason at a cafe one afternoon. They looked deep in conversation, she'd said casually. I laughed it off, telling her they were probably discussing the wedding. Deep down, though, something in my chest tightened. One night, I tried to surprise Emily with dinner, her favorite pasta, candles, wine. She came home late, claiming she'd been meeting the florist, but I noticed a faint trace of cologne on her scarf, one that wasn't mine. When I asked about it, she giggled. Oh, relax. The florist's assistant hugged me goodbye. You're being jealous again. Her tone wasn't teasing. It was dismissive, like I was being ridiculous for even noticing. I told myself not to make it a big deal. I wanted peace, not paranoia. She was my fiancée, after all, the woman I trusted more than anyone. But that night, lying beside her while she scrolled on her phone with the screen turned away, I realized something terrifying. I was starting to doubt the person I loved most. It happened on a random Thursday night, one of those evenings that feels completely ordinary until everything shifts. I was on a call with my friend Nate, who was helping Jason plan my bachelor party. I had the phone on speaker, scrolling through emails, half listening, until I heard Nate say something that froze my blood. "So, are you inviting that girl Jason hooked up with at the hotel that weekend?" He joked. There was laughter on the other end, but I didn't hear the rest. My hand just stopped moving. My stomach turned cold. "Wait," I cut in, trying to sound casual. "What weekend?" There was a long pause before Nate replied. I thought you knew. The trip Jason took right before your engagement?" I forced a laugh, muttered something about a bad connection, and hung up. My heart was pounding. I sat there staring at the wall, trying to convince myself it was just guy talk, some stupid misunderstanding. Jason was family. Emily was my fiancée. They couldn't. That night, Emily came home late again. Her excuse? Bridesmaid dress shopping. I asked how it went. She barely looked up from her phone. Something in her voice felt rehearsed, too smooth, too controlled. When she went to take a shower, I picked up her phone. I'd never done that before. My hands were shaking. I didn't even know what I was looking for until I saw it. A text thread with Jason. My name popped up in between lines that made no sense, unless you read between them. Emily. I still think about that night. It shouldn't have happened, but I can't pretend it didn't. Jason. We just have to act normal until after everything. He can't find out. My body went numb. The shower was still running. My heart was pounding so loud, it drowned everything else out. I dropped her phone like it burned me and sat in silence, realizing that the life I thought was perfect had just cracked open. For a moment, I thought my eyes were deceiving me. I read the messages again, over and over, each line slicing deeper than the last. It wasn't vague anymore. It was clear, unmistakable, a confession in plain sight. It shouldn't have happened. He can't find out. Those words looped in my head until I couldn't hear anything else. I locked myself in the bathroom, staring at my reflection under the harsh white light. My hands were trembling so hard I could barely hold my phone. My fiancée, the woman I trusted with everything, had slept with my cousin, and they planned to keep it secret while preparing to marry me. The irony made me sick. I needed proof, something undeniable. My rational mind kicked in through the chaos. I remembered Jason had posted a photo from that same weekend, a work trip, he called it. I scrolled through his social media, my heart pounding, and there it was, a hotel mirror selfie. The timestamp matched the night Emily said she'd been helping her mom with errands. The background was the same as the one from the image I found on her phone. Same curtains, same lamps. Only, in Jason's version, a faint shadow lingered in the corner, her silhouette. It was like my entire life compressed into that one still image. Trust, love, family, all burned into a single frame of betrayal. I didn't confront them, not yet. I needed time to think, to breathe, to stop the world from spinning. She came out of the shower that night, kissed my cheek, and said, "You okay? You look pale." I forced a smile and nodded. Inside, I was screaming. That was the moment I decided. They wouldn't see me break. Not yet. They'd already taken my trust. I wouldn't give them my pain too. The next morning, I woke up before Emily, staring at her as she slept peacefully beside me. I wondered how someone could look so innocent after doing something so vile. My chest felt hollow, not with anger, but with a strange, icy calm. I knew I couldn't confront her yet. Not without a plan, not without control. So, I decided to play along. For the next few days, I became an actor in my own life. I smiled when she smiled, laughed when she did, even kissed her forehead before leaving for work. I kept up the illusion of a perfect fiancé, while, quietly, I started preparing for my disappearance. I opened a separate bank account, transferred my savings, and began removing my name from anything we shared. Every action felt surgical, detached. I wasn't a man anymore. I was a ghost setting his own exit in motion. Meanwhile, Emily was thriving in her fantasy. Wedding boards, bridal showers, endless chatter about the future. Jason was harder to read. He'd become nervous around me, avoiding eye contact during family gatherings. Every time his phone buzzed, I saw him flinch. Guilt had carved itself into his face, but I said nothing. Watching him squirm was its own quiet revenge. One evening, Emily came up behind me as I sat on the couch, wrapping her arms around my shoulders. "You've been so calm lately," she whispered, kissing my neck. "You're not stressing about the wedding at all. I love that about you." I forced a small laugh. "Yeah," I said softly. "No point stressing over things that might never happen." She giggled, oblivious to the double meaning in my words. As she walked away, I stared at her, memorizing the back of the woman I once loved, knowing I'd soon disappear from her life completely. A week before the wedding, I vanished. Not with drama, not with yelling, just silence. I woke up early one morning, packed a single duffel bag, and walked out the door while Emily was still asleep. No note, no explanation, no closure. Just absence. The kind that echoes louder than words ever could. By noon, I'd already shut down every shared account, phone plan, credit card, everything. I withdrew the rest of my money, transferred it to my private account, and drove 6 hours away to a small city where no one knew my name. I switched phones, changed my number, deleted social media, and disappeared like I'd never existed. It wasn't easy. My hands shook as I watched the road disappear in my rearview mirror, but there was something freeing about the quiet. For the first time in weeks, I could breathe without feeling like my lungs were full of glass. By the time Emily realized I was gone, it was too late. My mother called me in panic. "She's been calling everyone. She thinks something happened to you." I told her not to worry and to stay out of it. When Emily finally emailed me, her words were desperate. "I don't know what's going on, but please come back. We can fix this. I love you." I didn't reply. She sent another message an hour later, then another. By the end of the day, there were 20 unread messages in my inbox. When she finally realized I wasn't coming back, she broke. Friends told me she called off the wedding. Jason's family found out soon after. He lost everything: their respect, their trust, their support. I didn't lift a finger. I just watched it all unfold from the quiet safety of my new apartment, knowing that silence, my silence, had become the loudest revenge imaginable. The chaos hit like a storm. Within days, my phone was flooded with messages from mutual friends, half of them asking if I was okay, the other half demanding to know why I'd disappeared. I ignored them all. Let them wonder. Let Emily and Jason explain themselves without me to defend or deny anything. I wanted the truth to unravel on its own, and it did, faster than I expected. Apparently, Emily's panic turned into anger once she realized I wasn't coming back. She started telling people I had mental health issues, that I'd run off because I couldn't handle the pressure of marriage. But the lie didn't last long. One of Jason's exes, someone I'd barely spoken to, reached out with screenshots of messages Emily had accidentally sent to the wrong person. Messages that mentioned their secret night and the guilt that followed. Within a week, the story spread like wildfire through our families. Jason's parents were devastated. My aunt, his mother, called mine in tears saying, "I don't know what's wrong with him. He's destroyed everything." Jason was kicked out of his house, his reputation torn apart in one clean swoop. Emily's family pulled back too. No one wanted to be associated with her once the truth came out. Meanwhile, I kept my distance, not out of coldness, but clarity. Watching from afar, I realized how fragile their little web of lies had been. It didn't need me to burn it down. It collapsed under its own weight. I'd see pictures online sometimes. Emily with a hollow smile, Jason nowhere to be found. Their once perfect facade had cracked in public view, and for the first time in months, I felt something close to peace. Still, I couldn't shake one thought. They hadn't even begun to understand what real consequences look like. Not yet. Months passed before I heard from her again. By then, the noise had died down. No more gossip, no more messages. Just quiet. I'd built a new routine in a new city, and for the first time in years, my peace wasn't dependent on anyone else. Then, one night, I got a text from an unknown number. "Please, just talk to me once. I owe you the truth." It was Emily. My chest tightened, reading her name on the screen. I stared at the message for an hour before replying with one word. "Why?" She called immediately, her voice breaking through the receiver. "Because I can't live with this guilt anymore," she said, sobbing. "Jason manipulated me. We were drinking, and I made the worst mistake of my life. Please, I never wanted to hurt you." Her tears sounded real, but her story didn't. I'd heard enough excuses in my life to know the difference between guilt and regret. Guilt is when you wish you hadn't done it. Regret is when you wish you hadn't been caught. "I don't hate you," I said quietly, "but I can't forgive you either. You didn't just cheat on me, Emily. You lied every day after, in my face, in my bed, while I was planning a life for us." She went silent, then whispered, "So, what now? Can we at least meet? Talk?" "No," I said. "You made your choice before I made mine." The line went quiet except for the sound of her sobs. I hung up. For a moment, I felt something sharp twist in my chest. Grief, maybe. But underneath it was calm. A strange, unfamiliar peace that came from knowing I no longer owed her a single thing. After that call, silence became my only companion. No more apologies, no more explanations. Just the long echo of everything I'd lost. I'd thought disappearing would heal me. That distance alone would erase the pain. But the truth is, betrayal doesn't end when the liar is exposed. It lingers inside you, poisoning every memory you once called love. There were nights when I'd wake up in my new apartment drenched in sweat, her voice still whispering in my dreams. I'd see flashes of that hotel photo, the text messages, her smile when she said she loved me, all overlapping until I couldn't tell what was real anymore. I'd lie there staring at the ceiling, thinking, how did I become the fool in my own story? Jason's life fell apart faster than hers. Word spread that he'd been fired from his job after showing up drunk too many times. His friends cut him off, his family wouldn't speak to him, and eventually he moved out of state. I didn't gloat, not even once. I just felt empty. The revenge I thought I wanted had come, but it didn't feel victorious. It felt like ashes. One day, I walked past a jewelry store and saw a ring just like the one I'd bought Emily. It stopped me in my tracks. I remembered how proud I'd been when I slipped it onto her finger, how certain I was that it symbolized something eternal. Now, that same symbol felt like a joke. I realized I'd lost more than love. I'd lost my faith in people. That night, I finally did something I'd been avoiding for months. I called a therapist. I was done pretending I was fine, because surviving betrayal wasn't about punishing them anymore. It was about reclaiming the parts of myself they had destroyed. Months of therapy peeled me open in ways I hadn't expected. I learned that betrayal doesn't just break your trust, it breaks your sense of self. But slowly, painfully, I started putting the pieces back together. I was finally sleeping through the night, working again, even laughing. I thought that chapter of my life was done. Until one afternoon, my phone buzzed with a message from an unknown number. "It's Jason. I know I have no right to reach out, but please hear me out." My first instinct was to block him, but curiosity won. Against my better judgment, I agreed to meet, in a crowded cafe, public, safe. When he walked in, I barely recognized him. He looked older, thinner, like the guilt had carved lines into his face. He sat down across from me, eyes downcast. "I'm not here to ask for forgiveness," he said quietly. "I just needed to tell you the truth before I lose my mind." I said nothing. He swallowed hard. "Emily, she lied to both of us. She told me you two were done, that she just hadn't told you yet. I thought I was helping her move on. But when she went back to you, I realized I'd been played too." For a moment, I just stared at him. It didn't change what he did. It didn't excuse it, but it made something in me shift. Emily hadn't just betrayed me. She'd orchestrated everything, pitting us against each other while pretending to be the victim. Jason's eyes glistened. "I lost everything because of her. My family, my career. You were the one person I shouldn't have hurt." I stood up, heart pounding but calm. "You're right," I said, "and that's why I'm walking away." As I left him sitting there, I realized the real power wasn't in revenge. It was in finally not caring. 2 years have passed since that day, and I can finally say I've found peace. It didn't happen overnight. It came in quiet moments. Morning coffee without anxiety, laughter that didn't feel forced, sleep that wasn't haunted by what-ifs. I've rebuilt myself piece by piece, not to prove anything to anyone, but to finally feel whole again. I met someone new, someone kind, grounded, and transparent, in a way I didn't know was possible. She knows everything about my past, every scar and every betrayal, and still looks at me like I'm worth loving. With her, there are no secrets, no half-truths, no lies hidden behind soft smiles. Just honesty, the thing I once thought didn't exist anymore. Then, a few months ago, I heard from my mother that Emily had moved back home. Apparently, she tried starting over in another city, but it didn't work out. She'd lost her job, her savings, and her so-called friends. Jason, on the other hand, vanished completely. Rumor has it he's struggling somewhere out west, working odd jobs to survive. When I heard that, I didn't feel anger. I didn't feel pity either. Just clarity. Life has a way of balancing things out. They built their happiness on deceit, and deceit never stands for long. I didn't have to lift a finger. The truth did the work for me. Sometimes I still think about that version of me, the man who thought love meant blind trust. He deserved better. But maybe I had to be broken to learn that peace isn't about revenge. It's about release. If Emily ever thinks of me now, I hope she remembers the silence, the moment I walked away and never looked back, because that was the day I stopped being her victim and started being free.